What's up, everybody? This is Andy. Welcome to the ACW Adrenaline Rush podcast. Before we get going, I wanted to thank all of our supporters over at patreon.com. It is because of people like you that I get to do this podcast and can travel around to film all of the matches at ACW. If you haven't done so yet, go on over and subscribe to our Patreon channel because you get some awesome perks. You get early access to this podcast. You get early access to all of our matches, and you also get your name listed at the end of all of the matches. If you're a business owner and you want to sponsor us and be a match sponsor, we do have some sponsorship options available on there as well. Head on over to patreon.com today and get early access to all this great content. Today, we've got a fan favorite within ACW here today. He is the second ever ACW United States champion. I'm talking about the one and only Nick Sarachelli. All right, so we're here with Nick Sarachelli. Nick, thanks for coming on to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thanks for making time to come on. And so this is just a chance for fans to get to know you guys a little bit better and just kind of ask some questions about your life and your journey with ACW and wrestling. And so tell me a little bit about yourself and where you're from and just your life in general.
My life in general, it's been a whirlwind. I've done a lot of things in my life. I'm from Baltimore, born and raised. I grew up playing baseball. Baseball is a big part of my life. In doing so, I fell in love with wrestling. Dwayne Gill is a big friend of the family, so
Okay.
Wrestling has always been a big part of my life through that. And in music, I'm a musician. I've been playing music for most of my life at this point. So, yeah, I spent my time between baseball, wrestling, and playing music.
Okay, awesome, man. And so with playing baseball, you got the hat on backwards. I'm assuming this is an Orioles hat. You're an O's fan?
It is an
Okay.
Orioles hat.
Awesome. And yeah, man. So do you play like Little League baseball growing up?
Yeah, I played Little League, I played travel ball, I played high school ball, I played college ball, I played professional baseball for a little bit. I've kind of done a little bit of everything.
Okay, that's awesome. Who did you like? Did you play like the MLB or like more like
I played independent ball. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And what team did you play for that?
I played for the normal normal corn belters in Illinois.
Okay.
And I played for the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs.
Okay, nice. Pretty cool. And what about other sports? I know baseball, you said, is a big one. Do you follow any other sports?
Football. Baseball and football are mostly my two main things.
So you did mention you're a musician. So I definitely wanted to give some time to let you talk about your band as well. So the band is Have Mercy, is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
A little band called Have Mercy.
Okay. Yeah. Is that a nod to Uncle Jesse from Full House?
It is. That is exactly how we got the band name. We're all hanging out after practice one day, just watching Full House, and we're like, I guess that's it. And I just kind of stuck.
That's awesome. I like that. So you're a bassist, is that correct?
I am. I'm the bass player.
Okay, nice. What kind of music? Like, how would you describe the music you guys create?
I don't know. I guess we're kind of like. I guess most people would say we're like a pop punk emo kind of band, but I feel like we come from all sorts of different genres. Like I grew up more like a punk rock guy. Our drummer was definitely a metal guy, and then so like we all come through different. So it's it's very rock pop oriented, but we all come from different areas around the rock genre.
Okay. I think that always can be a good thing, just because you get a different influence of like different styles of music, and like, I think can make really unique type of sounds. So
for sure, like because everyone kind of has like their own way and style of playing, so it's really cool and like someone has an idea that none of us would have ever thought of.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I played in a band years ago. I'm a drummer, and I always loved doing that. And that was something I thought was going to be my career and something I always wanted to do, and it just never panned out for whatever reason. But yeah, and it's crazy. I was just thinking about it the other day because I have my drum set up in the basement, but my second youngest is 6, and I don't think he's ever actually seen me play the drums. It's been a while since I played.
Sit down
But
there.
yeah, I loved it. It was definitely something that's always fun, and it was just cool to get into like jam with friends and get out and do shows and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's cool that you have that opportunity to do that. Um, how long have you guys been together?
Oh man, we've been in a band since 2009, something like that.
Like where all have you guys performed just locally, or have you traveled around like the country or anything?
Um, so we've been very fortunate that we actually got a record deal pretty early on into us becoming a band.
Okay.
Um, it was one of those things where like we were all in bands growing up, and it wasn't anything that we thought would ever be taken serious. And somehow, I guess the internet does internet things, and we ended up getting a record deal.
Nice.
We've been all around the world. We played multiple different countries, been all through Europe, UK, Japan. We've done countless tours in the States, Canada. So we've been lucky enough that we have been able to travel all
Yeah.
over the place.
That's awesome. Yeah, I met there was a musician I had met that was signed like years ago. They had just got signed, and that was his biggest advice to me at the time was like, don't worry about getting signed, like just use the internet to kind of get your name out there. And that was like he almost regretted getting signed. Has that kind of been your experience at all, or do you feel like there's more, especially
Oh,
now,
yeah.
there's a lot of like internet marketing opportunities there?
Yeah, I mean the industry has definitely shifted away from what your standard record label used to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if I regret it. I feel like it's given me a lot of opportunities. I mean, we definitely do things more independently now, and we just focus on the relationships that we've made in the industry. But the
Mhm.
industry, like any other entertainment industry, it's very cutthroat. It's a business,
Yeah.
so it's very hard to sustain longevity in it. So you just kind of have to really make good connections and just work with your friends, and hopefully things can continue to work out for as long as you want it to work out.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And do you have so like you've traveled around, do you have any like specific venues that you've really loved playing in, like more than like just get really stuck out to you?
The Fillmore in Detroit. It's really like visually is just really cool. It's like an old theater from like the 20s.
Okay,
So
nice.
it still very much looks like it's from the 20s. So you walk in and like you just really get that vibe of like you're going to see like a show, like a performance. So it's really like especially on stage, just looking out into it, it's just visually like spectacular. It's one of the better places I've ever played.
Do you guys have any upcoming shows like any places like local fans might be able to see you guys play?
Locally, no.
Okay.
We are going out on tour in June, but we aren't playing anywhere in Maryland, unfortunately.
Okay. And do you guys have like social media that I could put on here just for fans to find your band?
Everything is Have Mercy MD.
Okay.
So Instagram, Facebook, Spotify says Have Mercy, HaveMercyMusic.com. So I mean, it's really easy to find. We are the only Have Mercy. So if they type
Yeah.
in Have Mercy, that is us.
Okay, awesome, man. And I know your bandmates are big fans. I always see them at the Glen Burnie show
They are.
on
Yeah.
real loud. That's always entertaining. What's it feel like to have those guys like support you like that?
It's fun because I mean, like being a wrestler or into wrestling, it's one of those things where it's kind of hard to explain to people what you do or like what you like. As a wrestling fan, people are kind of like, "Oh, you like wrestling," but when you tell
Yeah,
someone you actually wrestle, they're like, "I don't like what." So having a good amount of friends that enjoy it with you and they come and support, it's fun because it's a different environment. They're very loud. They get into it, and they're not just there for me. Like they actually like wrestling, so
yeah.
they appreciate the whole show.
And so talking about wrestling, you mentioned earlier, which I didn't know this, that Dwayne Gill's a friend of the family. What was the connection there?
He grew up with my dad and all his brothers. They grew up in
Okay.
the same neighborhood, and so he's just always been around. And I remember watching him on TV, and my dad being like, "Oh, like that's Mr. Dwayne." I'm like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Mr. Dwayne was over the house like 2 days ago." He's like, "Yeah, but he's on TV. That can't be Mr. Dwayne." It's like,
Yeah.
it always blew my mind. But yeah, he always hooked up with tickets, and it was just always like one of those things I thought was really cool that he was on TV all the time and then hanging out, drinking beers with my dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a cool conversation with him because I didn't realize how long he had been with WWE. Like, I knew him for just as Gilbert,
Goldberg, yeah.
and I was going back and I watched like I think it was from like 1992, some of the like old superstars, and he was on there as like one of the like enhancement talents, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I didn't realize. And I was talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, man, he said he's gotten to like he's like people always like talk about like down about his career, but he's like I got to work with like the best
Oh,
wrestlers
yeah.
out there, like the top of the line. Like he's like, I have no regrets about the career I had, and so I just think it's really cool, like that. Just the career he had and the longevity that he had with WWE way before Gilbert and probably even after it a little bit too. So
Oh, for sure. I
yeah,
mean, as an enhancement talent, especially for WWE back then, to keep using you and not just
yeah,
any local guy says a lot about you as an enhancement talent and what you meant to the stars back then as well. So
yeah, yeah. Now, was it your connection with Dwayne that kind of got you into wrestling? Was that the introduction to it?
it was, wrestling was always, I knew it was always something I wanted to do. Like I used to have like a little journal and I'd write down a bunch of different names that I would like my gimmicks would be and like everything. But
Yeah,
um it was one of those things where like the timing never came around where I was like, oh, I might go to like MCW and train, and never happened. But then Dwayne opened up his school, and I was like, oh well, I have to try this now. This is my inner here.
yeah, that's awesome. So I didn't know that Dwayne ever had a school. So that's is he was the guy that trained you?
Yeah, him. And it was him and Earl the Pearl and Ramblin' Rich Myers were my three main trainers.
Okay. And when did you start training with wrestling?
This was probably 2009,
Okay.
2010.
And was it just like I know you said it was kind of always a lifelong dream. Was there anything particularly that just drove you to that? Was it just that you knew Dwayne or just you felt like that was the right time in your life?
I felt like it was just the right time in my life. Like I had gotten in really good shape. I had enough money. I wasn't like I was able to actually do it and give it a real shot. So it was just one of those things where everything just kind of lined up, and then having Dwayne there to get me in the door just all made sense to go for it.
So growing up, who were some of your like favorite like superstars?
Bret Hart. Bret Hart was my favorite, hands down. I just thought he was the coolest guy. Had the leather jacket and the glasses. So he was a big one. I was a I was a really big fan. I don't know why. I mean, I guess because I was a kid, but the Bushwhackers, I thought they were ridiculous, and
Yeah.
I just loved them coming down, doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was a big WWE guy, and my cousin was a big WCW like NWA fan. So we would always just butt heads about who was better.
Yeah.
That was our little family rivalry.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I definitely fell into the whole like tribalism of wrestling back in the day. Like I was all WWE, didn't like WCW at all. And like I remember my dad at one point, like just because WWE was getting so like over sexualized at the time,
Yeah,
coming from more of a conservative family, like my dad was like, I want you to watch like WCW. Maybe you should try this WCW. So I just always thought that was kind of funny. But like, yeah, that was definitely a WWE guy all through and through with that. Um, yeah, it was funny. Like, I think Bret Hart was definitely one of my favorites. I remember like really, I was probably like middle school, maybe junior high age, whenever he kind of did the right before he left WWE. And kind of did like the hating Americans thing. And
yeah, yeah.
I just remember being a kid and just buying right into it, like feeling like, man, why does he hate Americans? And not like understanding the whole storyline behind it, but or gimmick side of it, I guess. So what got you to ACW? Did you check out like other promotions before, like after you started training, or did you just work exclusively with ACW?
So when I first got out of training, I was primarily with MCW, and then I would do the rounds, the Northeast with bunch of guys, Pittsburgh or all of Pennsylvania, New York. I did a lot of stuff, a lot of shows in Buffalo. I didn't get into AC, so I always knew Jimmy,
Okay.
but I didn't get into ACW until I guess when I came back. So like the band had kind of gone on a little bit of a hiatus, and I had just gone out with a couple guys, and Jimmy was there, and Jimmy was like, "You still wrestling?" I'm like, "How? I mean, I haven't been in a ring in 2 years." He's like, "Well, come out." I was like, "Okay, you gonna book me?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, well then." And then 3 years later, here I am.
So I have to ask you with your entrance music, what was the inspiration behind using the Hall and Oates song? It's kind of a unique entrance music.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was the band, like we were just kind of trying to come up with ideas because I didn't want to use the same gimmick that I was using. I was tired of that. So I just wanted to kind of think of something stupid.
Yeah.
That generally that was the idea. And they came up, they bought like the outfit and everything. So they kind of came up with the idea that they're like, we're just gonna make you look ridiculous. And then I was like, well, then I need a ridiculous song. So we had a couple different choices, and then we settled on Hall and Oates.
Okay. I like it. Every time I hear it now, I think of you. So it definitely sticks. So what was your gimmick like before what we have know in ACW?
I was the Italian job.
Okay.
I was like I was a rich kid from like upstate New York, and yeah, just one of those spoiled, rotten rich kid gimmicks kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Gotcha. Was that so definitely more of a heel type gimmick then?
I was a heel. I was a heel for the most part. I kind of,
Okay.
depending on the promotion, I would hop around, but for the most part, I was a heel.
Okay. And then have you worked as a heel in ACW or have you just been a face the whole time?
I've been a face the whole time.
Okay. Do you have a preference between the two, which is more fun?
Heels are more fun. Heels are always more fun.
Yeah. I think I was like, if I ever became a wrestler, I think I'd definitely want to go heel. I think it'd just be just the fun of like getting the heat off the crowd
Yeah.
and just saying what you want to say to piss people off.
That, and I feel I like working a match as a heel more.
Okay. What's the difference? What's that dynamic like for people who may not be a wrestler? Because I don't even know if I understand that aspect of it.
You kind of control the pacing of the match.
Okay.
Like it's more about you making the baby face look good, right? It's your job to make people hate you and feel sorry for him, So as a baby face, you got to do more selling and getting people to want you to get that big comeback. Where the heel just kind of he controls the match, and you can really just slow everything down. You don't got to do a lot of the big moves. It's more fun for me because I get to more like I feel like I get to interact with everything more.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I've never thought about it that way, and I think that's always interesting. I hear like wrestlers all the time say it's more fun to be a heel, and I've always just thought of it as like just getting heat like type thing, but never thought about it as in the dynamic of a match and the psychology of that.
Match.
So with I know I want to say like maybe over the past year you've been kind of in the running with the U.S. Championship. I know you were the ever U.S. champion.
Yeah.
And you had the ugly belt at first. We got the nice looking.
Got for a little bit. Yeah.
But talk to me a little bit about what was that like for you to like have that opportunity to have that run as a U.S. champ?
I mean, it felt good. It's always good. I mean, like everyone knows it's wrestling, right? I didn't win anything, right? But I won the respect of ACW. Like they felt confident that I was able to be a champion and felt confident in my ability to make it mean something for the company. So, it's it's good. It feels good. It knows that you're a hard worker and that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And then do you have like any people over the past 3 years that have been like your favorite that you worked with?
I mean, I love working with Nick. Second, me and him have been wrestling almost about the same amount of time. So working with him is always really fun. I mean, and Michaels is great. Michaels has been around a long time. He's really easy to work with. He's a great guy. And like, we always come up with, fun ideas that really work off of like our abilities, which is what is always like best for me is like someone who understands what I'm trying to do in a match and not just like, well, I want to do spot this, this, and this, and this. That's cool, but like, I feel like there's always more to it. It's just better when like everything kind of just connects.
Yeah. Yeah, Michaels is super entertaining.
Yeah.
And you've had some like cool matches with him, just like some different hardcore matches, and you have
Yeah.
a strap match coming up. Do you feel like that like the hardcore style is something you enjoy, or is that just kind of like the nature of the rivalry that has come out of that?
I think it's just the nature of the rivalry. I think, and again, I think that just shows that, everyone at ACW, if you get a gimmick match, like gimmick matches aren't the easiest to put together. So it just says that like they trust us to be able to put on these kinds of matches. I'm not a big fan of hardcore matches. Back in my day, in my early days, I used to travel with Axel Rotten.
Okay.
And anytime if you travel with Axel Rotten, it means you wrestled Axel Rotten, which means you got hit in the head with a steel chair every match. So they aren't my favorite, but it's pro wrestling, and you do what you're asked of.
Jimmy trained with Axel. Was that like how you got to know Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, I've just known Jimmy. I mean, I've wrestled Jimmy a couple times back in the day, so that's how we, knew each other. I wrestled him when he was in a tag team.
Okay.
This was years ago. But,
Yeah. Was with the Adam Ugly?
yeah, pretty ugly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he talked a little bit about that on our podcast with him, and yeah. So, and now, did you have like have you had any like opportunities to work like dark matches in AEW, WWE, or anything like that?
I've never done a dark match for anything. I've worked with TNA when MCW had a partnership with TNA for a little bit. We did some things there. I have been an extra for WWE, but I've never worked like a singles match with WWE.
Okay. Were you on camera or anything for
Yeah,
like
it was like a backstage like pull apart segment.
what's that like for like people that are coming in that are just kind of being used as like backstage or security or whatever that the role might be? What's that like for you guys?
And it's cool, but it's a very long day. Like you're just basically just sitting and catering all day until you find out if they're actually going to use you or not.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah, because I know some of the other guys that have done it, and like they go and then they don't get used, and
yeah,
that's got to be frustrating to like travel around and then just not get used. But I mean, it's cool. It's a cool opportunity. I think either way, it means that they've got
I mean,
their.
it's a payday. It's a payday, either way. And I mean, like there's people. Everyone's there. You can talk to people. And you can learn a lot. So I mean, even if they don't use you, just if you're hanging around and you have the look that they want, they'll bring you back.
Yeah. Have you do you have any like cool stories of like people you've met that you've gotten like maybe some really like advice, like good advice that's like really stuck with you?
I mean, Shane Douglas gave me a bunch of really good advice, like my third match ever.
Okay.
I wish I could remember anything that he said, but I remember it meaning a lot to me when I was really younger. That's probably the biggest one. I don't know. I'm a very laid back guy. I try not to like talk business as much as I just try to be a friend to people.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put myself over. That's not why I'm here, like.
So I know, kind of circling back to Michael's a little bit too. You guys have the strap match coming up. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. This is my first strap match. I think Michaels is a very tough competitor, and his biggest thing is he likes to cheat. He likes to think that he's gonna walk around and be Mr. America and try to put me down. But I think I have the slight advantage where like I've beat him multiple times. I don't know. It's a strap match. I've never been a strap match, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'd be a little bit nervous getting into a strap match. Just some of the strap matches I've seen.
They're brutal. I'm
Yeah.
terrified. It's
Yeah.
gonna hurt. They're not comfortable.
Yeah. And well, cool, man. So I know you gave me some socials for the band. Where can fans find you on social media?
That's a good question. What is my Instagram? I believe. Let me look it up. Yeah. So my Instagram is Nick_W411. That is where I'm most social with anyone who cares about my band or wants to talk wrestling. That is my main go-to right there.
Okay.
Nick_W411.
Awesome. All right, dude. So that's all the questions I've got. I appreciate you coming on, man, and look forward to seeing you, I guess, in about a month at the next.
Yeah, at Hagerstown, right?
Yep. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the interview. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe over on our YouTube channel, and check out our Patreon for all of the early access to the content that we put out. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in.